Welcome back to Women at Acme. This is a solo episode for the month, and we will be talking about basically trusting your gut and your intuition in early dating versus self sabotaging, which a lot of our single listeners feel like it's hard for them to tell the difference between. And I get it because I've been there on both sides. I have not trusted my gut and suffered. And I have definitely self-sabotaged when it was just a nice person and, we'll get into it. But basically this actually came from one of our listeners who was like, "I need you to talk about this subject because I'm struggling with it." And so if you're struggling, I hear you. This is for you. And then the second part of the episode, we are going to get into some questions that you guys asked me, and going to be really honest and have honestly no idea what kind of questions are going to be asked. So that'll be fun. Okay. So we're dating, you're early dating, you're going on, let's say, let's do a very relatable situation, right? You're talking to someone on a dating app and the date is coming up. You have it in the calendar and you're like, I just don't want to go. I just don't want to go. Like, I just don't feel like it, this and that. How normal is that? And is that a sign that you shouldn't go? Is that your gut saying, don't waste your time? Is that your intuition? Or is that self sabotage? Is that fear? And we're going to kind of get into the difference between all of these different things. In my opinion, if you haven't met them in person and something is telling you you shouldn't go, unless they're really fucking annoying and they're sending you dick pics, which first of all, absolutely not. Like block them, get them banned from the app. But if they're annoying and they're, sending double texting a lot, like you know what I mean, annoying, texting you good morning beautiful, like, and you haven't met yet, yeah, don't go on the date with them obviously. But if they're just a normal person, maybe their banter isn't blowing you away, you're not laughing out loud from what they say and you just don't want to go on the date, that's a situation where I would say that's self-sabotage and fear. I would push myself to go on a date like that because until you've met in person you don't know the vibes. And I remember when I was on dating apps, I was so good at rescheduling dates. Like it was my thing. I would just push it and reschedule and push it. And I didn't care because there was no one attached to the date. Like I didn't humanize these people. And I remember I felt really bad about that when I had met someone in person that I had done that to, that I met on an app. And I was like, this is a really normal, nice guy. And I just like, why did I do this? And so I think that that is definitely something that we could all be guilty of. And I would say if you haven't met in person yet, unless again, they're giving you the ick already, go on that first date. Okay. Let's kind of break it down. Intuition is like a deep, calm knowing of something. You are just like, "Yep, I know that girl's a bad person," or "Yep, I know my boss is sus." Whatever it is, especially a women's intuition does not mess around. Like we know, okay? We always know. Or like I know he's cheating. I don't even need to look at his phone. Or I will look at his phone because I know he's cheating and I'll find out he's cheating. And fear and self-sabotage is more of like that anxious voice that's predicting disaster without any evidence. And this is where we get into murky waters because it's normal to have fear as women, especially in the dating world. So normal, right? But there's even like a type of therapy to address this, which is DBT therapy, which I've done. I never know if it's DBT or CBT. I always mess it up. I think it's CBT. Anyway, this kind of therapy teaches you that you got to focus on the facts, not the emotions and like not the random stress that doesn't actually exist. But what are the facts here? Like instead of being like, "Oh my god, my boyfriend's sister hates me." Was was she mean to you? find out that did she disinvite you to her birthday party? Because if she didn't, then don't just assume the worst because she didn't smile at you one time. You know what I mean? It's like, let's chill. So another part of this, kind of like a caveat, is we obviously want to trust our intuition. We don't want to self-sabotage. We don't want to give into fear. At the same time, we don't want to ignore red flags. Okay. So that's really important too. And so I'm going to give you four questions. Four questions. Okay. Do you remember these videos? I should honestly do one of these as a four questions. Four questions to ask yourself before canceling on a date. Okay. Number one, is my feeling calm or panicked? Because if it's calm, it's literally your intuition blessing you with the idea that, nope, you shouldn't go on this date. If it is panic, it's from fear. And like, where does that fear come from? We don't necessarily know, but it's usually not based in logic. Okay. Number two, do I have concrete reasons or just vague dread? So, patterns versus projection. So, I'll give you an example from my life, which is that there was someone I went out with and subsequently dated for almost 2 years. That on our, I think it was our second or third date, they were 20 minutes late, coming from a day of day drinking, like into the date, which should have been an immediate. I had a feeling in my soul, like truly in my soul, that I shouldn't give them another chance. And I did. And then there was another date where they got really drunk on the date. And again, I was like, oh, well, like I just tried to focus on the positives. And I know these sound like little things, like anyone can be late, anyone can drink too much. But I just think that it was someone above trying to tell me, don't waste your time. And I wasn't that excited about this person. I remember they had invited me to a concert, and I love concerts, by the way. And normal me would have been so flattered if I were into someone, like really into someone. I would have been like, oh my God, they invited me to a concert with all their friends. Like, that's super meaningful. I really like them. But my immediate reaction was like, how do I get out of this? And I dated this person after that for almost 2 years, guys. So this was an example of ignoring patterns that a person had and not listening to my intuition. Number three, is this about them or me? So again, if you're gonna bail, is this some sort of projection from a past hurt because they're a big hockey guy and your ex was a hockey guy who wasn't a good guy? You know, let's not future trip about someone that we don't know. Let's not go out with another Aries because an Aries broke our heart once, Like let's let's reel it in. And what's the low stakes? Sorry, number 4. What's the low stakes next step? So, like, instead of fully bailing on this person, can you meet them for a shorter walk, an ice cream, a coffee? You don't have to always commit your entire night to someone, especially early in dating. Again, going back to the rules, like, you can literally go on a 30-minute first date if you want. As long as it doesn't go past 2 hours, it can be as short or, as under 2 hours long as you want. And if it stresses you out to commit that long, then like shorten it. You can always shorten it. And if someone's like, no, I refuse to get ice cream, I wanted to have a sit down dinner, then like they're telling you that they're really, you know, high maintenance and annoying. Okay. And then going back to red flags, some common early red flags that you should pay attention to. So going back to patterns, inconsistent communication. So the confirming the date the day of rule gets a lot of flack, and I get it. But the reason that this is such a big debate is because, like, if someone doesn't confirm the date, you shouldn't go on it type of thing, is because it shows a lack of communication. It's so easy if you have a date that night to just, we're on our phones all day. We're all in group chats. We're all like checking WhatsApp or whatever the app is. We're all on Instagram. Like, just be like, see you later. You don't have to be like, I will just let you know that I will still be waiting for you at 6:30 at the Gramercy Hotel. Like, no, just be like, see you later, or like, excited for tonight. It's a quickie. It's a quickie. And so inconsistent communication, red flag. Overly fast declarations of love. If you're getting an I miss you after one date, unless it is a complete joke and that person's like a funny person that is doing that to be funny, run. Disrespect for boundaries. Again, I'm working with a few male matchmaking clients, and I say this before I even send them a contract. I'm like, never, like, you are just simply not to try to go up to a woman's apartment or invite them up. They have to be the one to initiate that kind of behavior. And I know that could be very controversial. Like, it's sexy when a man takes the lead, but especially in the first couple dates, if a man is asking to come upstairs or if the man is trying to get you to go up to their apartment, I don't like it. I think that it is a violation of a boundary. And it's also like, what is their end game? What is their end goal? Because if they're inviting you up that early, like, to me, they just want to fuck. So I would write that person off. And then controlling or dismissive comments. If they're rude to the waiter, if they say like, "Do you always wear low cut shirts?" I don't know who would ever say that. It's a weird example, but you know what I'm saying. Like, no, we don't like that. Anyway, some things that are really helpful if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know how to trust my gut anymore. I have dated bad guy after bad guy, and I just give up. Like, I just don't think that I can even trust my judgment. Here's what will help you. I'm not a big journaler, definitely not, but I am a big notes app person. So, if you don't want to take the time to buy a journal and a pen, open your notes app. We all have it, and take notes on the dates that you go on, just like little notes so you can spot patterns. Like, if you're only going out with guys who play pickleball, if you're only going out with guys who have three brothers, like, whatever it is, if you're only going out with guys who keep asking you to split the check, like, what are the patterns? Checking in with your trusted friends. So, like, your friends know. Like, if you're single and you haven't ever asked an opinion of a girlfriend or a guy friend, then you don't wanna know. Like, you don't want to know the truth, because I can tell you right now, all of your friends, whether they're single too or in relationships, can tell you some reasons why you're single. And that doesn't mean they're gonna be like, "Because it's your fault." No. They might be like, you should go, like, you should, say yes more to things, or like, you seem to date the same kind of guys. By the way, this isn't an attack by any means on people who are single. It's just that there might be something, like, we have to see our part in things, right? And so, even like, I keep using a matchmaking client as an example, and I hope he doesn't listen to this and get mad at me. But one of my clients said something like, I'm looking for these ages, and if they're over this age, I'd wonder why they're still single. And I was like, why are you? Like, how does that not apply to you also? And so I would say that, like, that attitude definitely doesn't help being single, right? Um, and so, yeah, check in with your friends. Check in with your friends. And by the way, it very well may be your friends will say to you, "You haven't met your person yet." Because that is a huge reason why many people are single still. And if you've listened to our "The Best Relationships Come to Those Who Wait" episodes, you will see that the best relationships do in fact come to those who wait. And not not everyone is single because of a reason of their own. But if you want more self-awareness and you trust your friends, it doesn't hurt to be like, "What do you think I'm doing wrong?" or this or that. Like, even if your friends just like, "You will only date guys who make over $1,000,000," like, and that's not always realistic, then whatever, accept whatever she says or he says. Practicing mindfulness to distinguish your anxiety from your intuition. So, again, this for me would be a therapy thing. Like, don't forget about therapy. Don't forget about working on yourself and figuring out what are my anxieties as as they come into dating for me, and what's my intuition. And I'm not accusing any of you of ghosting, because if you're listeners of this podcast, you don't do that. But if something feels off, the more honest you can be, the more honesty you'll get in return. And so I really highly suggest being honest. And then just to kind of wrap up, lean into your intuition, not your fear. And I think, okay, we're going to play a little game, and it's called Trust the Gut or Give It a Chance. Okay. So let's say that you get a message, and that, like, a text message, right? And the message is like, "I can't do next Friday." This is the scariest situation to be in. I remember I was in the situation with Steven when we first started dating. I had taken the risk of asking him to do something once after he had asked me to do something, literally, I think at least 10 times, because I was just so, like, in fear, and he couldn't. And I freaked out, and I was like, "He doesn't like me. I should never have asked him to do something, because now, like, what's it called? The switch has happened, or the flip or whatever, and he thinks I'm into him, even though obviously I was. Like, we had gone out a million times, and it's over." And so instead of giving into fear in that moment, I should have just trusted my gut. Obviously, he would do something with me if he could. And then very shortly thereafter, he was like, "But I would love to do something with you on Thursday," you know? So, okay. Um, okay, sorry, back to our game, gut versus fear. So, your gut, when you're on a date, they talk over you a couple times. Is that Is that okay, you know? Or is that a bigger indication of who they are and the kind of personality they have? I don't love it, you know? And another scenario, and we'll use this as we kind of did it before in my example, but they're late, they're late. How do they react when they get there? Are they very apologetic? Do they go above and beyond? Do they, you know, Do they make you feel good about it? Or, maybe they get too drunk. Okay. Again, everyone gets too drunk. On the next date, though, do they address what happened? Do they address what happened afterwards? Or is their ego too big to do that? So, trust your gut, but make sure that it's not fear, right? And that's kind of the gist on that. I hope that was helpful. And now I'm going to answer your question, so I have to have some water. That was a really gorgeous sip of water. If you are not drinking from an Owala water bottle, you should be, and they should sponsor the podcast, honestly. Okay, so we're going to get right into it right now. All right. Mm-mm. Okay, there's a lot, so we'll see what we can get through. That's so funny. One of the questions says how to differentiate between trusting your gut and being fearful from past experiences. Girl, rewind. Okay. How do you know when it's enough and to stop looking elsewhere? I don't think you're going to like this answer, but it's not enough because then you wouldn't be looking elsewhere. Ever since being with Steven, and he hasn't listened to the podcast in a while, so luckily this won't go straight to his head, but I never looked elsewhere ever. Like I was like, this is it. That's it. The book is closed. This is my this is a person who's perfect for me. This isn't a perfect person, but this is a person who's perfect for me. And yeah, maybe I could look elsewhere, but it won't be this person. And so I honestly believe that if you're still thinking about looking, it's not your person. Rules and thoughts on ladies dating younger guys. I think it's great. If you're someone who's very into a specific timeline, it's probably not as great. But if you're someone, I don't know, maybe you're like 28 and you go out with like a 25-year-old, live it up, girl. Live it up. I think that younger guys worship us, they respect us more. I mean, they better, otherwise, why are you wasting your time? And I think that sometimes our energy could be younger and their energy could be older. Like energy, it's about energy. It's not about age always. I have a friend who's dating a much younger guy, and I think they're pretty much on the same page about many things. If you feel like this is just a fun thing, again, going back to your timeline, if it's important to you, I wouldn't waste your time. But if you think that this has real potential, then as long as you guys are on the same page, date younger. Why not? How to bring up the 36 questions that lead to love. Should I memorize them or have them pulled up? So for me, I did this on my second date with Steven, and I was like, I have some fun questions. Can we answer them? And I pulled up the article. I didn't say what it was because I wasn't going to be like, these are the questions that lead to love. But I was like, I have some fun questions. Can I ask you them? And they are some fun questions. And it led to our first kiss on the date. It led to some really interesting conversations where we found out our moms went to the same college. Like it's really fun. So I can't imagine that the person sitting across from me would be like, "No, I don't want to answer some fun questions." Because that's like the Grinch. Um is earlier better for when my friends meet the guy I'm dating? I don't think so. I think that you should have like 4 or 5 established dates, almost like 6 or 7. I think depending on how old you are and how intertwined you are with your friends, I think that it's actually quite nice to have that time alone with that person before making that introduction, unless it happens in a casual, like, relaxed way for whatever reason. I think that it's important to enjoy that time period, just the 2 of you, because meeting your friends could change things. You could see how they act around your friends and be like, "Yeah, no." Or you could see how they act around your friends and be like, "Now I have to marry this person." So, just enjoy your time together and then kinda let it like, ease into it. Oh, girl. She said, "Do you ever tell a guy you like him?" No, because I mean, unless he says it to you, and then you could say, "I like you back," but this is an age-old rule. If you're going out with him, you like him. If you're responding to him, you like him. It's pretty obvious, and by the way, he thinks you like him, so you don't have to say it. Unless you feel like you're acting like you don't like him, but I'm sure you're not. Guys, it's so hard to speak so quickly when you're pregnant and so out of breath. Okay. How long do you let it go on if there's nothing bad, but nothing great? Example, no texting banter. Don't settle for anything less than greatness. I really believe that. I really believe that. I know all these people are going on these podcasts recently being like, good enough is good. And I'm like, no, it's fucking not. Not for me at least. And so if you agree with me, don't settle for less than great. There's a lot of people in this world. Why do we need to be with someone who's good enough? And by the way, this goes to how you feel about yourself. If you feel like you're great, why don't you deserve someone who's great? You know? And it's fucked up to tell someone that they don't deserve someone great. So that's how I feel about that. Do you believe in if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no? I feel like I give up too soon. Yes and no. I think obviously you want to be really excited about them, but there is such thing as a slow burn. And I wish I could talk to this more, but I didn't really have a slow burn with Steven, but I have friends who had slow burns and it didn't start off as hell yes. It started off as yes and, you know? And I think yes and is not telling you good enough. Yes and is just saying, I want to keep getting to know this person. And you should be getting more excited about them as you get to know them. And then they should be great once you finish get to knowing them. You know what I mean? If you could only follow one of your rules, which one would you pick and why? That's so hard. Ah, that's so hard. I think I think that it goes back to like my OG rule, which is don't ask what are we? Because if you start off the relationship with them asking you to be their girlfriend, in this case, I'm talking about a hetero relationship where the guy's asking the girl, then it's off to a good start. If you start off the relationship being like, do you like me? Where's this going? And they're like, I guess I'm sure we can date, then it's off to a bad start. So I'd rather, if I can only choose one, I would like to be off to a good confident start. And I imagine they wouldn't ask me that if I didn't follow the other rules. See what I did there? See what I did there? Oh my God. Guys, so many questions about trusting your gut. So thank God we talked about this subject first. And I hope again that that was helpful. Whew, sorry, I just had so many tacos and then just came and sat here, so I probably shouldn't have done that immediately. Um, in person is great, but texting seems like it's kind of died down in the early stages of dating. I would say that's a red flag. Your texting should ramp up in the early stages because you got jokes now, you know? Like that banter should be on fire. Um, how to set boundaries with friends without making it weird. I am not good at setting boundaries with friends. But to be honest, I only have like 2 or 3 friends that I really am genuinely like talking to all the time and very close with, and I don't feel like I need a boundary with them. I think that if I did need a boundary from a friend, I would just be like, I have a lot on my plate right now. I'm going to let you know when I can like hang out or something. You know, I don't think like, or like, I would say it in a nicer way. Like, I really wanna see you, but I have so much going on. Like, I love you for being patient with me or something. Or like, I love that you like, I love you for understanding. I don't know. I wish I need more context for what kind of boundary you need. Okay, this is such a good one because I'm gonna bring up a story. Your boyfriend of 2 months says he doesn't like couples who spend all their time together. Red flag or no? First of all, I actually think that this is a very inarticulate man who is trying to say that, like, it's good to have independence in a relationship. So I don't think that this is a total red flag. Having said that, Steven said something similar to me when we were first dating. Hold on, let me try to get more comfy here. Okay. Steven said something similar to me. I think it was we were first dating and it was some sort of holiday. I want to say either like a Mother's Day or a Jewish holiday coming up or something. And I was like, should we go to mine for one day and then over to your parents for one day? And he had said something like, are we like, do we need to do this together? Like, there are, I wish I could tell you exactly how he phrased it. Should I try to call him? He's not going to answer. But he basically said something like, do we need to do this together? And Hold on, let's see. He's definitely not going to answer. I mean, I don't even know why I'm attempting. But you never know. But anyway, he said something like that. And I was like, "No, I mean, we don't need to, but like it would be nice." And he said something like he started bringing up other couples as an example and being like, "Well, so and so split up every holiday." Yeah, he didn't answer. He literally doesn't talk to me when he's at work during the day. But it's fine. We don't need him, guys. Um, he does talk to me, but we don't talk on the phone. Anyway, and he said something like, "Do we need to do everything together? Or like, do we need to do this together? Whatever." So it's like, like riling off, whatever, saying all these couples that split up for this holiday, split up for that holiday. And I was like, I don't envy those couples. Like, I don't want to be those couples. And by the way, I could have backed down and been like, "You're right. We don't need to do everything together." But that's not who I am. And so I leaned into who I was and I was like, I don't like the relationship those couples have. And don't ever compare our relationship to someone else's ever. It's important for me to do so and so holiday together. And if that's not important to you, then that's fine. And then I think I was like, I would like to do this holiday apart. Like, basically, I was just like punishing him in like a not like toxic, but more like learn a lesson way. And no joke, ever since then, he has not wanted to be apart from me for 1 second. I have to force him to do things apart from me. And so, what I will say, not to defend this guy, because I don't know him, I don't know that he's like my husband, but I think that when you're starting to, and this is you're only 2 months in, starting to date someone, whether it's a man or a woman in this case, we can feel like we're starting to, our space is starting to be encroached upon. So say to him, like, yeah, I don't like couples who spend all their time together either, turn it around on him. Yeah, I think that's a lot. I need a lot of personal space. In fact, like you should leave right now. You should just go because I don't want to spend all of our time together. He's going to be dying to spend time with you. Dying to. He's probably just like testing whatever. But anyway, my point is people can say this and then they could literally go back to wanting to be with you all the time. So, we'll see how it goes with this one. Sorry, just hard to breathe. Okay. How to address previous relationships that ended, long-term ones and living together. I think you bring that stuff up early, get it out of the way. You let the questions come in. I was in this long-term relationship. We lived together. We broke up last January. And then the person's like, "Oh, what wasn't working?" Just answer the questions early on. It's not weird to have a past. Everyone has one. Just like get it over with and be open to the questions they ask and ask them questions back about their past relationships. Because the longer you wait to talk about past relationships, the more they like loom over your own relationship and kind of creep into it. And it gives them too much like power. Okay. Being unsure of the dating scene in a new city with no community. This is when you really got to lean into workout classes, joining like groups, like a run club, checking, like going on Eventbrite in your city and seeing what events are going on and seeing where you can find community. If I moved to a new city right now, I would 100% post on my personal social media account like, "Hey guys, moving to Chicago, would love to connect with friends who live here." I don't think that's weird at all. If I saw that of someone saying moving to New York would love to connect with friends who live here, I'd be the first person in that person's DMs being like, "Let's do it. I haven't seen you in 17 years. Like, how are you, man?" Like, that is cool and confident, and there's no shame in that game. And Instagram is a great opportunity to find community. Also, go on Bumble BFF. I know so many people who have made friends through Bumble BFF. and like very, very normal, cool people. Best way to reject someone if you're not vibing after first date and craft anti-ghost text. Girl, go to our highlights on Instagram for anti-ghost and you will find all of the options. What to get for their birthday on, or I think early on dating in a new relationship is what she meant to say. Well, they should set you up to win. Ask them what they need. And if they're like, nothing, don't worry, just be like, no, literally, what do you need? Like, do you need a new pair of sunglasses? Like, when was the last time you got a new wallet? Like, just ask them. You're gonna get them something for their birthday, and they should get you something for theirs. It's not crazy to ask that. And if you really don't want to have the confrontation of asking them, then literally observe them. Like, are they wearing the same hat every day? Are they wearing like, are their socks falling apart? Like, what is it? Guys probably need a lot of new things. Should women in their 30s be more selective or more open-minded when swiping on apps? Great question, and I wonder what you already are, you know? Like, I don't know how selective you already are, but I would say have your firm list of wants versus needs and continue to not compromise on your needs. If you need someone that's over 5'8", then you need someone that's over 5'8". If you need someone who, I don't know, lives within 20 miles, then that's okay, you know? But it's like, don't be very picky when it comes to, oh, they look different in one photo because it's like you just don't know what someone looks like in real life and you don't know what the vibe is. So, yeah, I mean, I would say this goes back to a trusted friend, like swipe with a friend. I love to swipe with single friends, like on their dating apps and see kind of what they're going for, who they're saying yes to. When I do my dating consultations, I'm very surprised by how many people will reject perfectly good candidates and like we'll talk that through of, okay, well, why? Okay. I have a boyfriend whose dad can't get over that I don't speak to my dad. My boyfriend wants me to explain this to his dad. What the fuck? No, let your boyfriend explain it to his dad. I mean, I don't know how long you've been in this relationship, but unless you're very close with the dad, he doesn't like, why should he demand an explanation from you about this? When you're ready to tell him about it, you will. Can we talk about the hidden folder? Should we know what's in it if in a serious relationship? Okay, the hidden folder is a folder on the iPhone. They might have it on other types of phones too, but it's a folder on the iPhone where you need a password or a face ID to get in, and it's photos that you can't see when scrolling through someone's photo album. It's usually nudes from like of people. It's a compilation of things that you want to hide. The reason I asked this is because it came up with Steven. I don't know if I should be saying this, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble, but his hidden folder has some photos of me. So I hope no one gets a hold of his phone. And so I know exactly what's in his hidden folder. And it's hidden for a reason, obviously. You can figure out why. And it made me think, and then like whatever, he made some joke about like putting something in his hidden folder, and I was giving him shit. And it made me think, I wonder who knows what's in their partner's hidden folders, because no doubt in my mind that a lot of my exes still have pictures of me that are suggestive. And I would not be surprised at all if some of them were in their hidden folders. Not saying that like I think I'm so special or whatever, but I'm just saying like men don't always delete photos like this, you know? And so it got me to thinking, I wonder if so no, you don't need to know what's in your partner's hidden folder. It's hidden for a reason, but you should have an idea that at least it's not like photos of their exes. it's probably we'll just call it jerk off material. We'll leave it at that. I don't wanna get in trouble, and I can't clip this because then I will. Okay. Wow, I have so much more to get to, and we're, like, already running out of time. Okay, it's hard to decide which ones to choose. How to know that someone is genuinely good in a world of common and horror stories. I mean, you gotta, again, trust your gut, trust your intuition. Do they make you feel calm and relaxed? Does everything that you learn about them affirm to you that they're good? Or do you sometimes learn things about them that you're like, this is sus as fuck? Because if it's the latter, then sus, you know? But I feel like the more I learned about Steven, the more I was like, this is a good person. And like, is he a perfect person? Again, no. Am I a perfect person? Definitely not. But am I like, is the word like net good? I don't know. Um, you know, we like to think we're good people. So I think if someone isn't a good person, how they treat the people they love, right? How they treat the people who can do nothing for them, how they treat their exes, like how they speak of women, all of these things, how they speak to, I don't know, people in the service industry. Like you can tell if someone's no good. You really can. Should you always be yourself when dating or follow the rules? Follow the rules and be yourself. Be yourself following the rules. They're not mutually exclusive. You should be yourself while following the rules. And I think I've used examples of myself being myself while following the rules enough. Again, I waited until 6 dates to sleep with Steven, but when I did, I said, I want you to spend the night because it's where it makes me feel comfortable. I was following the rules, but also asserting who I was. Is being a workaholic always at odds with being a thoughtful partner and attentive boyfriend? No, I really don't think so. And I don't think workaholics are necessarily workaholics forever. I think that in our 20s and 30s, like we gotta hustle. We gotta hustle if we have any desire to retire one day, if we want a comfortable life, if we want to create like generational wealth for our families. I love workaholics. I think they get a really bad rap, and I don't think it's fair. I obviously I am a workaholic, and that's why I'm so defensive. My husband's a workaholic, but I think that workaholics are people too, and like work makes them feel valued and it makes them feel good. And it's not always a bad thing. And I think a workaholic deserves someone understanding. And you can be a workaholic and still show up and be a good partner. There's a way to do it. And honestly, it's mostly about communication. And when I meet with workaholics as matchmaking clients or in dating consultations, it's always really important to them to have a partner who at least understands stress and understands that you know, the last thing a workaholic wants is someone that they're with an idle mind because an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So, I don't think it's a good match for a workaholic to be with someone who just sits and like stews about them being a workaholic. Um, so those are my thoughts on workaholics. Okay. We're getting there. We're getting there. I'm skipping through a lot. Um Normal to have a weird phase in between 1 to 2 years of dating, overthinking everything in the future. Yeah, I think after 1 year, like, things get more serious and you're like, "Is this going to be my person, or not?" Because 'Cause I've thought that up until this point. Is this? Because you better have, right? Otherwise, what are you doing? Is this going to go full throttle or not? Like, I think that's really normal. Um and we talk about the 1 year itch a lot. So definitely listen to the 1 year itch episode if you haven't yet. Found out my fiance is a drug addict and in deep. Selfish to choose myself and leave. Absolutely not selfish. You should leave. And they should hopefully hit a rock bottom, not obviously God forbid, get hurt or hurt themselves in any way, but hit a rock bottom to the point where they get help for themselves, not for you. Um, it's a really hard situation. And if you're meant to be, you'll be when they're sober, hopefully. Can the feelings ever come back in the relationship if you lost them? I don't think so. I do think relationships ebb and flow, but you don't go through a long period where you're like, I just don't like this person. You have to always like them. Or, sorry, you have to always love them. You might not always like them, but you have to always love them. What to do if he's not saying I love you? Depends how long it's been. If it's been over 6 months, I don't like it unless there's a concrete reason, like he's vocalized to you, he's got issues with something, I would run. How do you feel about having each other's Instagram password? It just sounds like going through each other's phones, which isn't healthy, and I don't think that you need someone's Instagram password to be able to trust them, and if you do, you probably don't trust them to begin with. Feel less physically attracted to a 31-year-old guy after 3 dates, but checks all the other boxes, give it a chance. Yeah, I mean, he could be really good in bed. You never know. Like, that kind of attraction can grow, especially with guys who have everything else going for them. I'm not close and I have drama with my siblings. How to discuss on early dates when asked about family vibes. I don't think you need to necessarily. I think you just be like, yeah, I have a few siblings, but like we don't really get to talk as much as like are we just like we're not that close. I don't you just vague. Like don't dump the family trauma, but don't pretend everything's like all good and dandy. And I think when you're more comfortable with them, you can explain to them why. And they're not going to run because you're not as close with your siblings. Did you pick gender? Tell us. This comes up every Friday AMA. And I have to be honest with you, I did not pick the gender. I can't elaborate on that more, but I did not pick the gender, but maybe the gender picked me. You can try to figure out what that means. Um, Okay. Oh my God, so much of difference between gut and anxiety. So I'm so happy that we started this episode with that. And um can a spark slash butterflies be good, or is it usually indicative of just lust anxiety? I definitely had a spark and butterflies with Steven. And yeah, I was a little scared. And again, I remember I told my therapist and she said just strap in. And I think that it can be good. I don't think it's always bad. I think butterflies gets a bad rep because it's like, again, it's like an unsettled feeling in your stomach. You shouldn't feel that all the way, like the entire time. You should feel that when you like take a risk and send like a risky text, you know? You should feel that when you're about to meet up with them, but you shouldn't feel that in a resting state. You shouldn't feel that because you haven't heard from them. You should feel that out of excitement. So it's like kind of have that gut check with yourself. Am I feeling this because I'm uneasy constantly because this person's in my life? Or am I feeling this when I'm about to see them? When they're about to, when we're texting and I sense something risky. Okay, and last but not least, he says she's just a friend, but she sends selfies and they do activities together. They live 1 block from each other. Run so far from this person. And is being a guy's first girlfriend ever a good thing? It definitely can be. Justice for people who have never been in relationships before. They're still good people. They are malleable. You can teach them things and you don't have to deal with any crazy exes. So I hope this episode was helpful. I loved that we got to do some AMA. And as always, I can't wait to hear your thoughts.